I'm Linn Storch. I'm a registered dietitian at St. Joe's Hospital. I also work for the cancer support community. It is, if anybody's not familiar with it, it's kind of a national program. We have one in Ann Arbor that I am involved with. St. Joe's Hospital is in Ann Arbor, so I don't know where everybody's location is, but that's where I work the most. I did Oncology Nutrition for 10 years, inpatient in the hospital, and then I did it for another 5 years outpatient. Then about 5 years later, I became a patient. So I got breast cancer 15 years ago. Amazing to say that. It was stage 1, or DCIS, and the standard protocol, the lumpectomy and radiation, was what I did. It hadn't spread until 2.5 years later. It came again, and that was ended up being, now it hadn't spread again, so it was double mastectomy. So that was their treatment protocol. They really don't have, you know, when you go to your doctor, you get this diagnosis, you're like, you get the second diagnosis, and you feel like, what am I doing wrong? You know, why is this happening? So we question ourselves a lot. So I did. Here I am, a dietitian. I'm supposed to know what to eat, and you know, everything's supposed to be okay. Incidentally, 2 other dietitians at St. Joe's were diagnosed with cancer. Not both. One was breast, one was kidney. But yeah, so it was definitely made me wonder. You know, we question. So I'm blessed to say that it's been 12 years now since the last. I had a year of like four surgeries. Hoped I would never have to deal with surgery again, but. It's been 12 years, so amen. We all want to be able to be saying that in our journey. So, but today I'd like to then give you as much of the facts, the questions, and the maybe it'll work kind of information on nutrition and cancer. And as much with breast cancer, I'll be honest, there's so much now with nutrition that's for all cancers. So if you know someone with cancer that's not breast cancer, please, you know, pass information on to them, because it's going to be good information for all of us. But, and you know, there's not a downright, yes, eat this, it's going to cure your cancer. That's it. It's not necessarily one superfood. I do a talk called Cancer Superfoods. I actually ended up that I have handouts that I hope I have enough, just coincidentally had them. So I will plan to give those to you so you can walk out of here with at least that list. Again, they're superfoods, they're called, but is it the only answer? No, but they're great on research with this. So I think we're feeling pretty positive that we can at least put some effort into our lifestyle. And if you have not read, lifestyle with cancer has a significant influence. Anywhere from 30 to 40% is on the low end, up to 70%. That's huge. When you think about all disease factors out there, cancer, we can do something about it. Doesn't mean your lifestyle was why you got cancer. By the way, erase that thought if it's even coming back at you. Don't go there. Because that is always our first reaction, like, what did I do wrong? But that being said, we have to move forward. For example, in the hospital, I had a woman. She was vegetarian. She ate healthy. She worked out. She had one of the highest cancers going on. Yeah, I was like, what? How? So that situation. And I've had smokers walk in, and they've got this little side cancer, not even that much. And we know what smoking can do. So, so we can't always label it. It's just out there. It happens. We're just going to try our best now. So I'd like you to leave with some confidence on that all we can do is try. And foods, we're going to eat every day anyways. That's number 1. Is anybody, by the way, having problem eating? Is any of your treatments affecting your appetite, your taste buds, your energy level? Any of these things happening? Yes. Low energy, weak, taste buds. A big one, though, is nausea. I do get concerned when people have the nausea. A little bit, some days, sometimes days. Low grade nausea? Like it's kind of there, no appetite. Right. I want to make sure I cover a little bit of that too then. Okay. Sorry, my dry mouth apparently. So I was telling Jay, who's the Detroit Komen representative, that today already for me has been an electrician, a painter, and things going on. Yeah, so I was not sure I ate that healthy this morning. Anyways, so let's start with the idea of the best foods for certain symptoms, so I make sure I cover that. And again, because, do you ever find like you have times of days where your eating might be a little better? You know, we wake up, we're like, okay, it's a new day, amen, let's see what I can have an appetite for. Where by the end of the day, sometimes we're like, no interest anymore. So that's one of the number one rules, is we find our most best time of day that you have to eat. And you start to recognize it. Make a little note about it, you know. And if you aren't keeping a journal, I do recommend, and I don't mean, you know, sure, go right ahead and do a full journal if you'd like to, but just for nutrition, things that are bothering you, things that are fabulous, this seemed to work, because that's kind of what's going to help for a while. I do tell people, especially when you're under treatment where you might be getting ill, after for a couple days, we have our bad days after, maybe don't eat your favorite foods. When you know, like 3 days after this treatment, I'm going to be throwing up, then that's not the day to eat, you know, my favorite. Because we want to save that for when you're feeling a little better. Because there's been instances where then that favorite became, it just stimulates the wrong thoughts anymore. So just a thought on that one. Because we all grew up with some favorites. I want you to be able to keep those around. So that's one thing. And then I mentioned a lot of times earlier in the day, people do better with eating. So often breakfast is like the lowest so-so meal. We reverse the whole day and make that your better eating time of day. And I don't mean a necessarily big meal, but provide some protein into it. Eggs are okay. If you're concerned about saturated fats, it's all in the yolk. It's not in the white at all. The white actually is all amino acids. In fact, it's the only thing with all complete amino acids. So, and those are all working in your body to heal. So egg whites, boring by themselves, but that's why, okay, now the studies say yolk is all right. And of course, it goes up and down through the decades. Do I eat eggs or not? How many eggs a week? So at this point, we're dealing with cancer right now, and so don't worry about that. Just if you can get the eggs down your favorite way. Your hands went up?
Well, I was just thinking when you said low fat, probably not even a year after I was, I had MBC, I had gotten very, very heavy. And so I went on a ketogenic diet, and I lost 55 pounds. So more fat, but healthy fats, like avocado, you know.
Yeah.
Not like, I know bacon, they can eat bacon, but I try not to eat a lot of that type of fat.
Okay.
And a lot of cruciferous vegetables.
Okay, so you said, okay, I'm going to take the keto and go with it.
I know some people,
stricter.
yeah, they're like really against it. I don't know what a nutritionist, I did go to a nutritionist at U of M when I started the diet.
Okay.
And told her what I was doing.
Good. And she probably guided you, hopefully, with a few of the
she said,
expansion options.
South Beach 2 is kind of like keto, but a little better. Because I think people are scared of that high fat.
Right.
Diet.
Thank you. So it's interesting you brought that up because keto is so popular out there.
That's just meat and vegetables, right? I'm not really.
Actually, not the vegetable part. It's mostly
High fat.
proteins and fats. And they restrict carbohydrates. So it sounds exciting to hear, wait, would you say you lost 50 pounds? And so get real.
But I love vegetables.
But see, I do too. I ate a lot of cruciferous. I always have the cruciferous, the broccoli, I love vegetables too, more than fruit.
Yeah. So kind of I think what you did is, because you said I was on the keto and I did lose, but
I lost 55.
now you've kind of expanded your.
Yeah, you know, I have, and
Okay.
because I decided that all of those vegetables and fruits cannot be bad for me, so I started including those once I lost, but I kind of started including other things too.
Okay. So to summarize that, the strictest ketogenic type diet is where you have no carbs, very low carbs actually, and mostly eat fats and proteins. So you hear about people saying bacon because it's all this fat. But there is concerns. Yes, it creates the body having, because no carbs. Carbs are our best calorie burner. They provide the energy for the body. How many? You know, I always hear about carbs are bad. Oh, you're not supposed to have carbs. But it's really how much, what types. Carbohydrate has this wide range. You can eat, right, so you can eat the very healthy ones, or you could be eating sugar. It's carbohydrate, so it's two big ranges. And so in the keto, they eliminate all of it. So that was always the concern from a nutritionist standpoint. Our grams, 100 grams of carb is ideal for the brain to function. And the keto was lower than that. So we were concerned about everybody in their normal. Does that explain your? Thank God there's an answer. Yeah, so that's why you could hear, I was like waiting to hear, and now you're doing. So we never really recommend go as strict as that. And if anything, you know, the idea of the proteins, make them lean. Let's not worry about that fat part of that diet program as much, and just go with vegetables as carbohydrates. They're very healthy. I mean, a sweet potato, yes, it's higher carb than a green bean, but
it still has good.
It's great beta carotene, vitamin A, a lot of healthy things. So I'm never going to be one to say, oh, you shouldn't have that potato. You know, no, yeah, maybe not the Snickers bar or that Twix in there, but yeah, there we go. I know I had to laugh when I came in and saw those candy bars. I thought, really? Okay, where's that bowl of like clementines or apple or something? Yeah. So anyways, but this is standard society, isn't it? So you can explain how difficult it is to eat healthy in society. So anyways, yes, so the keto is really better to not do it strictly as it is, but to pretty much eat lean proteins and vegetables. What they say is if I had a plate here, you would want to cut the plate into thirds, and 1/3 would be the protein and 2/3 would be vegetables. So just visualize your plate next time. If you're concerned about calories, it's what you add after that really becomes more of the calories. The grains, if they're whole grains, I think, again, go for it. A couple grains a day, great vitamin B, fiber, again, some of the carbohydrate that we need, so there's no harm in having some carbohydrates and grains. But that's the important thing, a part of that. And again, our appetite. You kept saying cruciferous vegetables, so that is one of the number one vegetables. If I said superfood, they're just coming back with the component of, now cruciferous vegetables, your thought was, what did you usually eat?
Oh, I love them. I have cauliflower, broccoli, there's other Brussels sprouts, a lot of dark greens, spinach, and different things like that.
Kale. I heard someone say kale. Good old cabbage.
Love it. Yeah, oh God.
Dark cabbage,
Yes.
light
Red
cabbage.
Regular cabbage.
Right, yeah. So when you think about those foods, that takes a lot of energy just to eat those types of foods. But they also do great in the body too. So that they're an antioxidant basically. They're seeing almost a chemopreventative type of an effect that it really helps in tumor reduction. It shows benefit to chemo. Actually, studies are still going on it. So I would say that would be, the number. Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of berries.
And now we move to the fruit side. Yeah. We all love fruits.
I
Yes.
had a practitioner tell me to consider my food as my chemotherapy, in a sense, to consider that.
Yeah. Think about it.
So no meat, no dairy, no sugar, no, just like a vegan lifestyle.
Right. And often there's a question, because you will hear about when we're on treatment, not to take supplements, vitamin supplements. There's all kinds of supplements, but vitamin supplements. Have some people heard that before? Never?
Yes.
Not to take on chemo.
Not to take, but
Yeah.
just check,
Yeah, first check which ones is your physician. Some physicians aren't up on what to watch for, but so what I always tell people, and what you said reminded me of it, go for the whole foods first, because we can get a lot of our vitamins from the food, along with the fiber that we're getting from it and the other phytochemicals that we don't even know. There's thousands of phytochemicals, thousands. There's so many, they don't even know them all still. So I think that's part of why nutrition research is so still on the horizon, because we're learning. Which, on another standpoint, is when you hear things and then it changes, and you're like, wait, they used to say I should eat this, now they're telling me I shouldn't eat that. It's because nutrition is a science, and it's constantly being researched in a good way. The positive is, yes, fruits and vegetables are pretty still up there. But if you hear different, don't be frustrated, just recognize research is ongoing. So with that, anyways, cruciferous is one of the big ones. You mentioned berries. Berries is also blackberries and raspberries. Blueberries are the top berries. What comes to my mind as I think about this also is think about strawberries. Got a bad rap because they're under the, have we heard about the dirty dozen, the list of fruits and vegetables that we shouldn't have? In fact, I might have it. I might have my 2019 list here. Let's see if I do. Just so you know, part of it they've questioned whether it's a little bit political. So here we are. Here's our dirty dozen list. So sorry, things are full. Strawberries made top of the list. Story behind this then would be buy organic. Any of these that are on this list, that's why I encourage. If they're crazy expensive, then we go to another fruit as an alternative, because that's the only problem with, I think organic has always been traditionally much more expensive. So here we're trying to eat healthy, and they're charging us. So I know. So the only thing I can honestly feel that we're getting towards is that it's finally being recognized more and more that we need to do something. So you'll see it in the community. I've noticed grocery stores are starting to have more of at least one aisle of natural, or else it's in the same area. You know, gluten became very popular as something to avoid. And I say popular because it was, originally a celiac disease, and that was it. You had it, avoid gluten. Now we're finding sensitivity levels. So the grocery stores and the producers are making more options out there for that. So in the same sense, I think that's where organic's going. They're starting to find a spot on the grocery shelves. So we still don't just have to go to Whole Foods or Whole Paycheck, whatever we call it. No. Someone said that once, I cut that out. Yeah, that's, because, and actually I should speak for them. I've noticed, because in my cooking class, I often go there because I know I can get some of the best organic. And, I didn't tell you about the cooking class, 1 second. But they've actually now have things available at areas where they've reduced the price. So I see them coming forward even on that standpoint.
Is there a good wash for like the strawberries that are not organic?
Great question. Yes. So she'd asked, is there a wash out there, that we could put, because there's certainly plenty out on the shelf to buy, different kind of sprays and that. FDA did a study on it, and what they found out is that they took first and did it just like the normal consumer in your kitchen. If you took the strawberries or whatever one you want to take, and they had them washed underwater. Now, I wouldn't do this, but for 15 minutes they ran it, because I hate to waste the water that long. But this was a study, this was a test, and they found that that or soaking in the water for 15 minutes removed 50% of pesticides. So that was without any type of wash. Then they tested vinegar and water, and they tested baking soda and water, and they found that those were actually more efficient than the purchased cleansers.
Baking soda and the vinegar?
They said just do one.
Okay.
Now, if you
Yeah.
mix them, you'll get a nice foamy reaction.
You'll be doing a little science experiment, right? Yeah. Where we really got off on those bubbly volcanoes. Yes. So it was a tablespoon, about a tablespoon to a gallon of water. So I would just put, and wash, and you don't have to do it for 15 minutes then. Just give it a, agitation too. Actually, the second remover was a little light brush, or, if you have a veggie brush, just use that occasionally. So really, we don't have to go purchase that. So save some money. So you can go buy organic. So, and actually,
Better than the other vinegar
They found baking soda slightly better.
And it won't leave that vinegar aftertaste.
No, baking soda, no, that baking soda bittery,
Yeah.
no,
There's a
no.
vinegar.
You're not using as much. So it
So
should
a
just be
tablespoon,
a tablespoon
in a gallon?
in a gallon, yeah.
For either the vinegar
Or the
and can the
vinegar
be
or baking soda.
plain, or does that need to be
No,
apple
just-
cider with the mother, or what?
No, white vinegar,
Okay,
plain.
thank you.
Yeah, but that's a good question. Because with all this organic or not, and can I afford it, at least we could buy, we'll first choose, the ones that we like, number one, that we can tolerate, and then go from there. Yes?
Yeah, I just want to go back to the food and some of the things we need to consider to eat. And we know that the health industry has the pyramid, the food pyramid, or the plate example. And that's a good thing. I know we need to have a gauge to go by. But realistically, from a lay perspective, everyone's body is different. So you may suggest, or someone else may suggest, well, eat strawberries, eat blueberries, eat that, but maybe their bodies can't do that. So how do we approach this from an individualistic thing? Because everyone can't handle this diet or this prescribed this or this prescribed. Do they need to get a personal nutritionist? Because everyone does, they don't have that. And their insurance may not cover it. I mean, it's just variable. So what do you suggest?
Good. So first, just back up. I think insurances are trying to cover more nutrition. So at least call or ask. And a registered dietitian is what I would recommend because this is a person that's gone through the education. We have to then do an internship for a year. Then we do continuing education. So I know their background. I know what they've done. The legal term for nutritionist is not guided by anything. So someone can be called a nutritionist in just a 6-month program or something, unfortunately. So, and I'm not saying that they may not be good, but at least you know what you're getting when you get a registered dietitian. And that's probably what's better qualified for insurance coverage. So to answer that part of your question, I don't think it ever hurts. If it's covered, go for it. And just get that personal attention. Certainly that's what I did when I was in the hospital, whether they were in their hospital bed or whether they were coming in to see me after, and I'd spend an hour with them and we'd go through and I'd check out their lifestyle. What's your life? Your life is not like the other person. Your shifts where you work or who you live with or what cooking facilities you have available. I mean, you're right, it goes on and on. That makes it. And then there's just our little bodies and GI system. What can I tolerate? Or what do I like or don't like? I get so many people that don't like vegetables. You'd be surprised. I know you love your vegetables. There's so many people that don't like vegetables. But you know what? They've tested babies. They put the little pureed peaches and the little pureed peas. They take the peas and almost spit it out. But they take the peaches and go, that was good. Give me some more. So from birth, we're just prone to more liking sweets and fruits. So just that in itself. So, and I used to do a children's nutrition class. It was called NutriTots. They were 2 and 3 years old. And the idea, with their parent, the idea was to get them accustomed to enjoying food, making it colorful, making it in funny shapes. Well, when we grow up and become adults, sometimes we still have to do that. We have to make it enjoyable, try ways to cook it. What I'm enjoying this time of year right now is roasting vegetables.
Oh, yes.
Because you can get a pan, big roasting pan, just chop away, and get all the turnips, sweet potatoes, parsnips, all the root vegetables, good old carrots, get your cauliflower, broccolis in. Onions and garlic, by the way, there was some studies with onions and garlic, especially at 1 garlic clove a day is showing actual anti-cancer properties. So if you like garlic, get it into something where you can hide it in.
But if you cook it, doesn't it take the allicin that's in it away? That's the good part?
Well, the part, you'll still get some of it because it's hard to eat a raw garlic clove. You could blend it in a shake, whatever. So you could do that. Yeah, but they have said that they have studied it, and the fact that if you regularly just put it in, at least you'll get some of the benefits. Because if I can't tolerate it raw, it's not going to do me any good. So at least that way. But that's a good point.
Put it in some things like a salsa or a guacamole.
Yeah, right. And there goes all those other good nutrients right in there with the tomatoes, and you can put peppers and fruits. and your avocado. So anyways, the idea is to get these roasted vegetables, get them in the oven high temp. You can walk away for 45 minutes. So there you are. I'll take well, maybe not a nap, because you do have to make sure you get back, maybe toss them. But then what I tell people is put them in the refrigerator and just take them out and warm them up. And you've got, it saves on energy too when you don't have a lot of energy. As much preparation you can do ahead of time and kind of set it aside is really the idea behind cooking. Or if you really don't have energy, ask someone else to do it. That's the way to take advantage when people say, can I do something for you? Like, here's one idea, and I love vegetables, so it would take care of that. And I think for people that don't like vegetables, it does, you can season with cinnamon, something like sweet potatoes, or in cinnamon, again, herbs and spices are being studied for cancer, anti-cancer effects. So if you're not a normal person to use herbs, rosemary, oregano are two that they're seeing some good studies with. I mentioned the garlic, which isn't officially. Cinnamon and turmeric, right? We've heard about, in fact, I brought my turmeric. I did. Oh, I brought this too. I only brought a couple things. Usually I bring up a whole tray. But so this is in my house. I've heard of golden milk before. Has anybody? Where you put just a teaspoon in. You can put in almond milk, coconut milk, and you've got your turmeric. I mix it in. You can put it in. I do it in a yogurt, a low-fat yogurt. Greek yogurt is like 3 times more protein. So if you're not eating a lot of meat, it's kind of turning you off, or you want to be vegetarian, it's a good alternative. But turmeric is good in a shake.
You have to be careful if you have blood clots, though, because it's a blood thinner.
It is a blood thinner. So yes, there's something you do need to talk to your doctor about.
Too, I think.
I had someone that was taking the pill and their doctor suggested they stop. Don't take the turmeric pills. They did say you can use the fresh and mix it in. Start with a half a teaspoon and let's build up to a teaspoon. So sometimes when we overdose and do too much of something, it is actually too much. So if any rule with nutrition is they're doing again, back to the whole concept, don't go to all the pills and powders. Studies, for example, with soy. Soy is always an issue with breast cancer, right? How many say avoid soy? At least half of us usually, because our doctors say that too. Because of the estrogen effect, exactly. Genistein is the content in soy that has estrogen effects. It is an isoflavone though, and an isoflavone actually can help. They're seeing studies where it's actually helping with cancer.
I've heard that plant estrogen is not bad for hormone. They thought it was, but women that have hormone receptor positive cancer, they're saying it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's actually, one study showed it helped enhance tamoxifen, our standard one. So what do you take away from here today with that is confusion, of course. Thank you. Now I'm going to go back to my doctor and you said, tell me, and this is nutritionist. So the main idea is that soy in its natural form, 1 serving would be, for example, a cup of soy milk, 2 ounces of tofu, or edamame, fresh soybeans. Just cook up about a half a cup. Mix it in with some other vegetables, and that's all. So don't go overboard. Please don't take a pill, a soy pill. If you suddenly hear that would be better, don't spend the money, and they're not seeing the same effects. In all that research, if you do still have someone say no, part of the research showed that, and it was done in the Chinese most, because their intake of soy is almost from childhood. That's one of the things. They get soy milk, they are eating the bean and tofu. They saw better effects if you've had it from an early age. So now here we all are and going, okay, well that didn't happen, so do I bother? They still saw benefits. So I think it's personal. I do have someone once, she was telling me, but Lynn, I just can't do it. It's just something in my head. I think about the estrogen and anything I can do, even though you said that. So you know what? That's what you do. There's plenty of other foods to eat. Now, if you're going vegetarian, it does cut a few things out. Soy isolates are in foods, so I would look at packaged foods because you could be vegetarian and still actually get soy because that becomes the alternative protein. And they don't actually recommend that as much, which brings up the Boca burgers and the Morning Stars and things like that when we're trying to be vegetarian. Now don't, some people eating those don't feel bad that you did or whatever. It's again, studies, and studies have shown that maybe it's better to just get pure soy, like I mentioned, as a tofu, pure as a milk, or as the actual bean. So again, it makes it more complicated if you're trying to be vegetarian. Is anyone trying to be vegetarian? I mean, maybe you're still eating a little chicken or poultry?
I'm vegan,
Okay.
solely, and I've been watching my labs along with the doctors. And my protein, my albumin, all are good, or normal.
Good. No,
And they weren't before, but then I
Okay.
also started SES
Yes.
tea.
Yeah.
And I started that along with the RSO, the rich stem oil, last October. And my labs have been normal. And I just eat fruits, vegetables, alkaline water,
Nuts and seeds.
nuts and seeds.
Okay.
And I get my Ezekiel bread. But,
Okay, yeah.
But not strictly vegan. I may have gotten some sugar in there somewhere sometimes, but all my labs are normal as of last week.
Okay, good. So you're following it, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like what you were saying, how it's individual per person, right? That you need to be followed. It's good that your doctor's on top of it, and just recognize your energy level. Make sure they'll watch that as long as the labs are showing it. B12.
Good.
Good. Okay, because that's the,
A little high, but yeah.
okay. That's the main one they really watch because that can affect energy, and is not available easily in a vegan diet, but it can be supplemented. I don't know what they're doing, but so vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian. I eat all vegetables, no meat, chicken, or I only eat fish. That's pescatarian. So if you're trying to avoid everything but maybe wild raised salmon or something.
Have you heard a lot about mushrooms
Yeah.
and cancer?
Yes, I have heard a lot about mushrooms and cancer. And there's hundreds, I shouldn't say thousands, but there's hundreds of mushroom varieties. They haven't tested them all, but they haven't nailed down to one type of mushroom, but mushroom is showing anti-cancer benefits. So that's one of the superfoods we list. So,
There was a company that sent me when I was first diagnosed, and then they reordered it. They sent me 5 big packages of 5 different types of mushroom concentrated powder. They make coffee and what's it called?
okay.
I know what you're
Do you know what I'm
about.
talking about?
Where's my
I
mushroom
can't
list?
think of the name of the company.
I know I'm trying to. So, you mentioned. So remember when I talked about powders and things? There is a lot out there that you just mentioned it, that were presented by friends or whoever got your email address, that do sell a lot of things that sound good. And I know they're a business and they're trying to promote it to us, but I just,
They gave it. They sent it free if you
Yeah.
were stage 4.
yeah. Well, they never,
It's expensive. It's
yeah.
expensive.
So mushrooms in themselves is what we have, as nutritionists, talked about, not the product. So for anyone that didn't get the free samples, I would just say try to use more mushrooms. Again, it's like garlic on a daily basis. We don't normally. How many would say they have mushrooms once a week? Good for you. I'm shocked, actually. That's quite good. How many don't like mushrooms? Yes, there's always a few. So, no, I'm sorry. And it's true because it's one of those, because when I work with people, they're like, does that have mushrooms in it? So, we don't like mushrooms. So well, you obviously, we're not going to do something we don't like or irritates our stomach. That being said, mushrooms I probably have not made in a shake, but I have mixed it in with vegetables. There's back to that roasting pan. Put those whole mushrooms in there. Use a variety of mushrooms because the studies show we're not sure which mushrooms necessarily. You know, they're looking at all of them. Shiitake, maitake, if they're on sale, just grab them on the shelf and use them. Yeah.
Totally. Next, maybe you already have this planned, juicing. What are your thoughts on juicing?
Yeah.
I've been through many chemos where chewing was more than I could handle.
Right.
And so I would juice just to have something going in me. But what
Yeah.
about if I'm fine eating food now, but,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
juicing?
So juicing actually is neutral in the world of nutrition. We feel that a lot of the juicers don't leave us the fiber, and that's a concern. For example, there's nutrients they're saying in apple peels that we're seeing a lot of anti-cancer effects. So we just lost them down the drain. So that's the only probably biggest concern I have. Otherwise, the vitamin C is a little sensitive. Sorry.
The smoothie I said would be better because that keeps the fiber intact.
Yeah, you could put things in the blender. The vitamin C is sensitive to agitation. So like orange juice, for example, is a quick one that comes to mind. Do you know how you shake your container and then you pour it in? If you are an orange juice drinker and you've already kind of broken down a little vitamin C. It also is sensitive over time. So they do suggest vitamin C better fresher than to hold things off. So that goes back to the juicing that probably don't want to be using those type of things in the blender.
Are you getting nutrients as far as
You
like
are.
the kale,
Mhm.
the green juicing
Mhm.
maybe is what I'm looking
Yeah.
at more than anything.
Yeah, you are. Especially kale was probably really hard to get down. Now, that being said, I find that kale is one of those. It could even be bitter too. Not only the texture but the taste. And I've always started cutting kale almost like sliced thin. And then if you're not into that, I have ripped it. But then we've heard about massaging kale. We smile. Because when people hear me say this, I get just sprinkle a little olive oil and you just start to massage it. Sing a song, talk to it nicely, let it know it's having a good day, give it. Now, but I laugh about it, but I massage and I'm massaging. The kale, have you done it? It breaks down at least to 50% less. That's what massaging does. So see, it just relaxed to a happy green. That being said, you might want to do that just to try kale. Chop thin, massaged, it might chew better. Now that too, you're feeling better. But that's an easy way, then you've gotten it fresh and mixed in. And I'll mix quinoa, just put quinoa in it, another protein, and then maybe some dried cherries, cranberries, something, just to add a little more flavor. And that oil that you use to massage it becomes your dressing because you don't need a lot of dressing. You really don't after that. It stays on the greens. Yeah, lemon juice is actually very good too. Breaks it down. And lemon is good, again, one of those out there for everything. Not a superfood, but it's good. But does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, and I got a Vitamix at home, got it on Craigslist, I think, got a discount, and use it to make smoothies. I'll use a yogurt, fruits, veggies, just blend them all. The yogurt gets the protein. That's the only thing. When juicing, there's not a lot of protein except what's in the natural vegetable, which is good.
And that stays in the juice? Does the
Yes.
protein stay in the juice?
Yes, it does, except for what was lost in the fiber.
Wow.
So, yeah, so if you make it in the blender form, it's all in there, and then you pour it in your glass, you've got it all, 100% there. So I would do that, maybe more now that you have the appetite for it. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest that. Speaking of beverages, and I see it here because I don't want to forget about tea, green teas. Been more, it's ongoing. It's one of those that they can't explain why, but it's doing great anti-cancer effects. It's been around hundreds of years, as all teas have. Actually, 75% tea is black tea, generally. So green became more popular. White is almost very, very a low amount to find around as much. It's out there, but green seems to be the strongest one. Anyone use the matcha?
I was gonna just mention that.
Yes, so
I
matcha tea
have
is-
tried it, and then I ended up reading something about it that you have to be careful that you can't drink too much of that either.
Exactly. Right. See, it's powder. This one I buy, it's pure powder, 12 satch. But I wanted to try it, just to do it this way. I'll pass it around if anybody wants to look at it. But when you do one, it's equal to 10 times green tea. And so, are we overdoing a good thing? So that's where the concern was. So just to recognize that, maybe, yes.
So how much green tea a day is recommended?
Oh, sure. That's they say 3 cups a day. Yeah. So matcha would be enough for several days. That's what they're saying. So I'm not necessarily recommending the matcha. I just want you to be aware of. You've heard about it, always wondered about it, that it is something that is quite strong. One packet would be equal to 10 cups. Yes. So
like 3 days, basically.
you could, yeah, that might be the way to do it. Yeah, yeah. And you brought that up, they've studied warm tea and cold teas, and it does not matter for green. So if you're not a hot tea drinker and you just would like to on ice, of course, through the summer would have been, I know we're just done with it, but it would have worked okay.
This is hot tea season, fall.
I know, now it is. But some people, anyway, so the point is you can go either way with it and do that. Beverages, any other beverages? Be honest, water. I know people don't realize how much water we should be drinking, but generally you'll hear 8-ounce glasses, right? It's still the standard. I've tested the different formulas I've seen. It's all worked in about 10 ounces range. No, not even 5 ounces when I've done different calculations for myself. So that's why, to keep it simple, trying to drink water. Is coffee or considered water? Is tea, is that my fluids? No one wants to answer. Oh, is this a trick question? Okay, no. So a cup or 2 is fine of an alternative blend, but like diet pop, just because it's diet, is not going to make me gain weight. No. So that I've had I drink a pot of coffee a day. No, let's not count that either. So a couple cups through the day, yes, that's fluid. Your bodies will receive it, but it is being altered, right? Either with caffeine, even decaf. They've seen different absorptions. So just get good old water too. And I tell people, have a pitcher in the fridge. And I've done a wooden skewer, and just for fun, put cucumbers, slice up cucumbers and just put it on the skewer and put it in the pitcher, and you're getting kind of cucumber light, kind of like they do at spas. And you're also feeling like you're at a spa. So that's good. So it's something like that, or whatever flavor you're in the mood for. Or good old water is just fine too. I laugh sometimes at this, because if you think, I don't know how far back to go, 20 years ago, water, it became a business. Water was open the tap and drink some water into your glass. And now it's all this concern, one with, unfortunately, recycling issues, but also, and they're trying to, repurpose plastic now too. But, so that's why I try to simplify things and don't worry about all the fancy waters, just get water in. So that's the key.
Water, someone mentioned.
Oh, that doesn't do anything for cancer. People try to think that if you drink alkaline water, your body is set at its alkaline level. Nothing's gonna change that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there are studies on it, and they're saying that you're pretty much not wasting your money, but spending money on. That's why I say that's my theory, is simplify water. Yeah. So yeah, keep it that way. Yes.
Dairy. What's your thoughts about dairy?
Good question. Yeah, and milk, bad, and all that. So a couple things. If you're trying to go vegetarian, dairy has sources of protein for us that are non-meat. So you have to think at that. But what they've done studies on in dairy is if someone absolutely has to enjoy their milk, then I'd say go organic, because we know the cows, what they're eating, what's being is coming back to us through the milk. So that's one thing if you absolutely have to. The alternative milks are okay. So the almonds, coconuts, rice, goat are even goat's been studied as okay. Now when you get to cheeses, I mentioned yogurt a couple times, didn't I? You can choose organic, and I do recommend that for the yogurt. Cheese a little trickier. Aged cheese, there's actually seen benefits. So if you are okay with goat cheese also. So when you see 100 years aged, what did I just see? A cheddar that was 100-year age. That's okay. Again, and one of the big things you have to realize is volume. Because if an ounce of cheese, and do you know an ounce of cheese might be, hold on, we're almost to it with this Milky Way, just a little bigger. An ounce of cheese might be 2 Milky Ways. Oh, see, now you guys, I'm totally getting you wanting chocolate. There, that's about an ounce of cheese. That's about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches square. So they're saying don't eat half the bar, just take in an ounce or 2. And that'll be enough protein, and it'll also work well into a dish. What I do with often with cheese is take maybe just to dress up those roasted vegetables, just grate some cheese over it, a fresh cheese, and all of a sudden it's a whole new flavor. We all love our French onion soup because of that cheese over it. Well, that's because we are prone to things like that and enjoyment is an important part. Cottage cheese, actually, they saw some studies with cottage cheese. So you're going to hear different stories on cottage cheese and not to do it. I say if your appetite's down, cottage cheese is soft, I can't chew, it might be all I get down, then I'm going to say go ahead. Volume again, 1/2 cup is about a serving.
So what about dairy and mucus?
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's definitely aggravates the phlegm in the milk. So what you might want to look at is using the almond milks, and those are a little less.
I'm sorry, I guess I didn't ask the question right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I do, and I don't do any dairy.
That's right.
Because of the mucus. The mucus builds up, and then the mucus carries the cancer cells.
Oh, okay, I see what you're
that
saying.
I'm referring to.
All right. I'm not saying that is as strong as much research. I haven't seen it out there as one of the absolutes. It's one of the things. But if someone, like again, wanted a little bit of dairy, vegans you can do a non-dairy vegan cheese of that sort. But some of those, I don't enjoy the flavor of those. So
I did want to mention about the alkaline water. When I first started chemo, I started taking alkaline water at a pH of 10 because I was doing the Adrian Myerson Taxol, and it's a base, excuse me. Chemo is an acid. I call it a poison. But anyway, and so for me, my side effects, nausea, diarrhea, and all that, it wasn't as bad. I wasn't as sick, and I felt like it was due to the alkaline water, and just eating vegetables. Worked for you. It did. And then what I also want to add to last year when I started taking that SCAC and the RSO, my cancer was moving. It was in my breast, lymph nodes, my area here behind my thyroid. It was really aggressive. I'm triple negative in stage 3. In October last year when I started taking the SCAC and the RSO, that's the only thing I changed. By March, I showed no evidence of disease. And then my labs were starting to be real normal. June, same thing, no evidence of disease. Last week, no evidence of disease. One thing I changed, I continue my diet, but I take that SCAC and the RSO faithfully. And I still drink 8 pH alkaline water now. Right now.
And you said it. I don't know if that was it or not, but it's working. And I go for it.
I don't know what's working, but because I do still take the Zelota, the oral chemo pill, and I'm down from 6,000 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams a day, 7 days, go on 7 days off.
Good.
So I'm still doing that as well.
Good. I would not change a thing.
I think sometimes that all of us are different in how we deal with certain medications. I even when I was pregnant, I was not prone to getting sick, ever. No nausea, no, and when I had intravenous chemo, I've had, this is my second go around with cancer. I've had adriamycin, taxotere, toxin, all of that. I never was nauseous, ever. I was just lucky. But, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with anything, but alkaline water is a myth, a really big myth that.
Well, I think the myth though is that it cures cancer. She's
Right.
taking it as to
Yeah.
reduce side effects.
It is a myth that it cures, right?
Right. But I think the reason she's taking it or was drinking it though, am I right? Was it,
Yeah.
it was helping with
Yeah.
with
Your
your
nausea.
individual nausea, the side effects. It was going into your stomach and neutralizing something in there and making you feel better.
Right.
It didn't cure your cancer.
No,
I mean, I think that's the takeaway.
that I don't know.
And remember, what we're saying is, and I still really appreciate your comment about how each person's individual. It's like, this is her story, this is each of our stories. And we, again, back to what I said, we have to eat every day. You mentioned the sweets, a little bit in your life, because maybe sweets should be a little bit in our lives. But when you read the research, cut all sugars out, right? That being said, if you ate one of these, and I don't want you to feel guilty if you did, or if you want one right now, you go right for it. And I know, you have to. And you hear actually studies, right? 1 ounce of dark chocolate a day. You'll see that too. So we're going,
But you can't cut all sugar out because you can eat an apple in it.
right. Well, it's a different sugar. We're talking about white sugars, things made with sugar, right? Because you're right, we need the sugar, just like back to the old keto diet. We're going to get that. So anyways, yes, so we each have to recognize you're going to walk out today. And in fact, this handout, I hope I have enough, so we'll get these. Once you start there, go to there. You want to pass those, Trudy, also to the other side, maybe a little more. I think they'll need a little more. Sorry. Here, can you pass some more back that way? This is just a summary of the topics of the superfoods, just because I wasn't sure whether you would need it or not. And I think I included the Dirty Dozen on here. So you even have that list. See, one more? Sure. And you have one more? Fabulous. I do a cooking class, just so you know if anybody's ever out in the Ann Arbor ways. It's really Ypsilanti. Yeah, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, ignore those papers. The Cancer Support Community is on Hogback Road. You can just look Cancer Support Community Ann Arbor. And once a month, generally the second Wednesday, if it works for my schedule, I do a cooking class for cancer patients and their support. So usually it's the survivor and the actual support person, so you don't have to feel like you have to eat alone, because there's about 20 other people that'll be with you anyways. And I've been doing it for 10 years. It's a nonprofit, but it's a good cause. I do tend to mostly do vegetarian dishes, because that's the one we struggle with the most. Yeah, I knew how to cook meat, knew how to eat chicken. It was the vegetarian lifestyle that seems to be the one we didn't do 20 years ago, unless some of you did, that we're trying to gain towards more now. So this will get a little bit of a summary of what we talked about today. Not everything, but hopefully you can get some use out of that. And keep it simple. The last part of the handout talks about 8 or 9 things to do. And one of the things which I did not mention is about movement. Some people call it exercise. Don't call that. Bad word. What I recommend is to just, when you have the energy, when you're up for it, it's the best time of the day, the sun's shining, go out, they say 20 minutes, 40% of your body. So I always tell people, get a little bit of the arms out there with the sunshine, it'll just feel better. And little things in life that will make us feel better. And food is all part of that. Food originally was meant to be survival, then became social, then it became, rush, grab, gotta go. So we've lost a lot of the balance of what food's supposed to be. So as we deal with this diagnosis, we're also trying to still eat. So do the best you can and be at peace with what you're doing on our good days and not so good days. And go out there and live. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.